if you have one idea, you have to make it kind of bulletproof for the project. So you have to push it to a certain way where you know it actually really makes sense.
Hello, my name is Eline Perez and you're listening to Are You an Artist? Today's episode is with Pauline LePape, who speaks about graphic design, typo, the best museums in the world, but also being shy. I did not know much about graphic design, so this episode was particularly enriching. I'm sure that you will enjoy Pauline's honesty and generosity when she speaks about art and life. Pauline LePape, here we go.
Especially when it's like quiet, I tend to lower my voice.
Which is kind of nice, but not for a podcast.
Not for a podcast.
So I always start by reading out a letter I've written to my guest.
Nice.
So, dear Cousine Pauline, 5 years ago, I was going to a dance workshop in Amsterdam looking for an accommodation. And I discover, surprise, that I have a cousin living there. I didn't know about that. I got in touch with you and you generously invited me to stay. When I met you, I discovered a brilliant woman, super creative, working in type design and graphic design and collaborating everywhere in the world. And the cool thing is that I can even quote you from another interview you did in which you said, "Design is a vessel to tell stories." So now I can ask you about your story from your super flat in Amsterdam and ask you the question, are you an artist?
I think for a long time I didn't know if I should say that or not, because my practice is quite various. So most of the time I'm not an artist. I'm really just a designer, whatever that means. And sometimes I do stuff that are a little bit more artistic. But I think for me now, the term being a creative is better because it kind of like embrace all of those stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say more a creative than an artist.
And also, I found it really difficult to describe design. How do you describe it to people who don't know about it?
Yeah, the difficult thing is if you give examples, then people kind of stick to it. Mm-hmm. Like I remember one of my other cousins, she doesn't know anything about this kind of fields. And I think one day I told her like design could be like designing the packaging of this perfume because there was a perfume on the table. Yeah. And then she kind of like, I think she kind of like stick to it. Like she thought, oh, okay, then you're designing perfume. So yeah, like, and it happened all the time. Like the other day, I have a new studio space and there is this old guy that is renting I hope he doesn't listen to that. He's renting also a space there. And he asked me what I was doing and I was trying to explain design and especially type design. And he was kind of confused. And then he ended up saying like, oh, so you're doing marketing. And I was like, no, like that. It's not what I'm doing, but obviously, I'm working on projects that are sometimes commercial. Yeah. So it's like not completely untrue, but I'm not doing marketing. But yeah, so design can take a lot of different shapes. And the only thing is my approach is always like related to typography. Mm-hmm. Because design can be a lot of different stuff, but my approach is pretty much linked with typography and type design, which is also a bit different. But yeah.
And when did it start that you wanted to do design, that you discovered about it? And
at first I was interested in fashion in high school, but I was also very shy about even like getting to think about working in this field. I just like that. And then I met some of my friends there that either knew people that did this kind of studies or wanted to do this kind of studies.
You were in Quimper, right, in high school?
Yeah, in Quimper, yeah. So yeah, I think it was my first like, how do you say, like inspiration to get there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it wasn't really anything like that before. I used to do quite a lot of dance, as you know, and this was maybe like my first approach to creativity. But design really came like much later because no one in the family is doing this kind of thing. So it was not natural.
Were you doing ballet or also like modern dance?
Yeah. Like rhythmic gymnastic and also ballet inside of, like you also practice ballet because of like.
So that was like almost like your first contact with creativity. Art and stuff.
Yeah. But I never thought about doing it professionally. I always took it quite light.
Okay.
And then, I think at the end of high school, I discovered that you could do this class where it's, so in French we say propédeutique, like where you basically learn all the base of a lot of different field of design.
Okay.
So you don't actually need to know a lot about art or design. You just like, you come as you are, and then you kind of, you have 1 year to learn all the base.
Oh, nice.
And discover a lot of different fields.
Was that in Paris or?
No, that was in Brest.
Okay.
Yeah. So I really thought I would just go for fashion. Mm-hmm. And then while I was doing this first year, I discovered I actually like better drawing and like letters and stuff like that.
Wow. And so, do you remember what you wanted to do when you were a child?
I had no ambition. I had no ambition. I was kind of like just sometimes finding because everyone is asking you like, what do you want to do later?
Yeah, that's why.
So I think like from time to time I had this like pre-made answer that really came from nowhere almost, and it was really untrue. Like it was not really related to anything I really liked.
Yeah.
I think in general I was just a pretty good student and a very obedient child. So I wanted to give an answer because that's what I thought I should do. Mm-hmm. But I had no ambition at all. Like really, I think the first time I really thought about what I wanted to do was around 17.
Okay. So what was the answer?
At some point I wanted to be like a cashier, like doing the...
Okay. I mean, I wanted to do that when I was young because I found it cool.
Fun. Yeah.
And now I'm so happy that you can scan yourself your real stuff.
I like it too.
Dream coming true.
Yeah, exactly. That's like just a way to make one of your dreams come true. At some point, I said nutritionist.
Nutrition.
Yeah.
Working in nutrition.
Working in nutrition. Yeah. No idea why. I guess it was just because in my dance practice, they were like very strict about what you should eat and like you should not gain weight and stuff like that. So I think it just came from that. So it's not a positive thing.
Not very healthy. No. For a teenager.
Yeah. And then, I did my first internship, this internship when you're like 15, maybe 14 or 15.
Yes, yeah.
I did it in a bakery because I like cake. Like it was so random.
That's funny.
It was nice. It was. I also found out like, okay, I don't want to do that actually.
Yeah, I think it's good also to try, right?
Yeah.
Things that you don't like.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you went to Paris.
Yeah, so I did 1 year in Brest, and then I went to Paris, and I studied for 2 years graphic design. So it was pretty wide in general. Like it's graphic design, not specialized in like one field, because there is as a graphic designer you can do a lot of very, very different stuff. I was back then very interested in book design, and I started to be interested in type design, but it's not really something that you do at this stage. Like type design is mostly like a specialization.
Yeah, it's so specific, right?
Yeah, it's quite specific. So I did graphic design for 2 years, and then type design for 2 years as well. Yeah. that's it.
And then you moved to Amsterdam.
And then I moved to Amsterdam. I actually had to do an internship here. So that's how I got to discover the city. And I also did 6 months of exchange in The Hague, a school called KABK. And yeah, it gave me like a very different perspective on what I was doing.
Okay.
So that's also why I came back here, because I kind of found out that the way things were working in design in France were not like really working for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
I think it was because my school was like a bit traditional.
Okay.
And I find tradition interesting, like as a base, and like in general, I like history, and so it's not like I didn't like it at all. But I also thought like, yeah, there is a lot of limitation. Like sometimes I felt like there is only one way to do stuff in the good way. And I felt like in the Netherlands, there was a little bit more of a experimental approach. And I was really craving that back then.
It's funny. I feel like even in dance, it's so experimental here.
Yeah.
Much more than other places.
Yeah. I think it's really the culture, and so it's kind of everywhere in any creative field. Here, I feel that there is much more freedom.
Yeah,
and also a lot more people do multiple kind of things.
Yeah.
When in France, there is this famous word etiquette, where you kind of have to define yourself in one way.
Stick to the label and stick to the group. Yeah. Well, yesterday when I went to the Museum of Modern Art, I was super surprised by what was shown. It was really different from the museums in London or in Paris or even in Brussels.
Yeah.
And even like there was much more work from women.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's, in London you have a bit of that, the guerrilla girls and everything, but it feels more like they do it because they have to in a way. And there it felt much more like, is it something that you feel also is a bit stronger here? Like this feminist approach to art? And
yeah, there is less of a gap in terms of gender. There is a lot more, like I can give like much easier name of very renowned female designer than in France. There is also a lot, but like in comparison, I feel like the balance is better here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So refreshing.
Yeah, it is very refreshing. Yeah.
And so when you are going into a new project, how do you feel?
I'm always, unless the project is, but then I mean, usually if I have the choice, I will not do it. But I think at first I'm always like very, very optimistic, and like I have a lot of ideas, and on the same time, I don't want to get stuck with one idea. It's just like an explosion of like, like positivity in a way. And I think it's like pretty quickly calming down. Like I also realize, okay, there is also challenges. But my first reaction is usually a lot of joy, like just hearing about a new project, like getting to know a new person. I really like to hear the story of people. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, that's what you were sharing in this interview. Stories, right? Stories is what drives you as well.
Yeah. I think that's really what I love the most in my job, is that you get to feed your curiosity a lot. You have to learn a lot about like a lot of different stuff you would usually maybe not get to know. Like I don't know, like you start to work on I did work on once, for instance, on a tea identity, like a tea brand identity. And I didn't know anything about tea.
Is that why you have so many
Now I have so many tea. Yeah, because I really got into it. And so it's like, it's really genuine. Like when I do the project, I don't fake it. Like I'm really getting interested, and I really want to get to know it.
Yeah, it looks like you're super curious. I mean, even your books, like it's on all the topics, and that's why I feel so good here. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
so refreshing.
Well, I always found a bit sad to be like only interested in like design, for instance, like only having books about design for designers, you know. And that's also why I really like to come to live here, because I felt in France maybe I was more encouraged about having all of my books about design and all of my interest about design, or something a bit close, like maybe architecture or and I'm actually interested in so many things. I want to learn about a lot of things. Even if there is no purpose behind it, you know, it doesn't have to serve any purpose.
Yeah. And so all these ideas, do they just come to you whenever you hear about the project, or do they also come when you do the research? What's your way of working with them?
Well, I think like the first ideas for me is never the right one, actually. For some people, maybe it's the complete opposite. But for me, I need to just like first, I need to write a lot. So I'm writing a lot of my ideas. And that's also how I find out that some of them are like not realistic or just stupid, or it's just not going to work. But they need to first come out. And then I start to elaborate a bit further. So basically, if you have one idea, you have to make it kind of bulletproof for the project. So you have to push it to a certain way where you know it actually really makes sense. And so it's not just like the premise of something. So I'm writing a lot, and then the rest is always a bit different. Like sometimes I need to like draw some stuff immediately. Sometimes I need to I don't know, like watch some movie about the topic. Sometimes I need to also just let it go a bit of the idea, and just do something else for some time, because I know it's always like it's working in the background of your brain, you know. So it's not like you actually don't really think about it, but there is like multiple routes, so it's not always the same. But it's usually it comes from drawing or writing.
I would love to see your drawings if you want to.
They're very ugly.
But yeah, I mean, like...
I can show you. Like, it's very like, it's not like pretty and delicate. Like, I think some projects, they come out quite delicate, but the actual like first drawing...
But that's why it's super interesting.
Yeah. It is very strange, because it's coming from a very, very different energy. And but I need to make my drawings not too delicate, because otherwise it kind of like narrowed down a lot what I want to do. So I really need to make it a bit bad, so that something comes out of it, you know.
Wow.
But it's ugly. It's not nice.
And what's your favorite part of a creative process?
I think when you... like there is this moment where you at least think that you found the right solution that is so like it makes you so ecstatic. Like I don't know, it's like such a high of like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it should be.
Like and sometimes coffee.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it end up not being the right thing actually. So it doesn't mean that it's the end of the process, but this really like this high of like finding something is so great. Like the final product is also nice, but I don't take so much time looking at what is already done.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you prefer to work on your own or with people?
I need a bit of both. I like to be on my own because I in general in life I need a lot of time alone. But I think the best thing I do are always the one where there was someone else in the process, one or multiple people. So I really like also the idea of like trusting other people, whether it's a colleague, a friend, or the client itself. I actually really like to have like a different input in my work.
And do you exchange a lot with the client, or do you also need some time to just?
I'm trying to avoid that. Also, like sometimes I'm working a lot with other designers, so sometimes I'm not even like talking to the client at all. In a lot of cases. But when I do work with the client directly, I'm always trying to put some kind of boundaries because like people want like all kind of things. Like they want to be able to call you, but also to talk to you on WhatsApp and on Slack and by mail. And it's so...
I don't even know what Slack is.
It's like, yeah, it's quite like a corporate tool, let's say.
So many platforms.
Yeah, it's one of those.
To intrude your life.
Yeah. And yeah, it is a bit like overwhelming sometimes because you also need some space to be able to think on your own. And I feel like every time someone was too invasive, then I don't even know what I think anymore. I'm like, it makes me so overwhelmed. Like I can't even judge whether I like it or not. And yeah, those projects are the ones that I probably end up not liking because I feel like, okay, I got robbed of the process.
Yeah, I remember when I was young, I always wanted to cut my hair the same way. And I remember my dad telling me that, you know, like you have to trust also the hairdressers, that they know better than you.
Yeah.
And I found this, really interesting.
Yeah, that's always what I'm trying to explain people, because that's so typical of a creative profession, that people, they think they know better. They think they know better, and they will try to explain you what to do, and they will try to like direct the project. And I'm always saying like, but do you do that when someone is like repairing your sink or your your doctor? Like, do you tell them what to do? Like, no, you don't. Like, you have to let it go and accept that the person in front of you has expertise, and you just don't have it. So it doesn't mean that you cannot say anything, but
trust. Yeah,
you need to trust and be a bit patient as well. Yeah.
And when is a creation finished? How do you decide that? Is it the time?
Well, sometimes there is like there is a literal deadline and there is a literal object that has to be created. Then it's a finished product. Like if you make a book, then well, there is an end to it. But in the case of like typefaces, it's very hard to know when it's the end. You kind of have to at some point just say like, well, it is the end now because like I'm done for some reason. Either because you're like, you literally cannot see it anymore, or you think like, okay, I think it works enough, like I can just let it go for now. But a lot of people, including me, we also come back even like some years later on an old work because we have a complete new point of view on it, and then you start to like work on it again. Like you start to change it, and like your eyes evolved like in a few years. You know, you don't look at what you did the same way. So sometimes it doesn't have a real end, but it's nice when a project has an actual end sometimes, because then you can really, it belongs to the past now. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah, it's kind of done.
Yeah.
And what do you like the most in your work?
I like to just like do it. Like I think that's probably one of the most like precious thing, is that I'm not just like interested in the end result. I'm really interested in the process. And it's kind of like dance, like you like the most important thing is the moment, and like you will always have to do it again and again and again, and it will never be the same. it will never be like, you will never be a robot, so it's always going to come out quite different. And the process of it like is very interesting for me. Like when I have to draw like I don't know, letters or something, I never know exactly where it's going. So you really have to like do it, and like be completely focused on it. And maybe that's all about the focus. I like the focus.
Mm-hmm. And what's the day like? I guess it depends.
Yeah.
Do you have an example?
Yeah, it depends a lot because it depends on like where you are on the project, like at what stage of the project you're on. So it's so like it's kind of hard to describe. Obviously, it's just a lot of time behind a computer. Most of the time, not always, but it's a lot of time behind a computer. And for me, it's also like it's not like relaxing really. Like this focus I was talking about is also a lot about having a bit of attention doing it, So I'm not a relaxed person, and it's even worse when I'm working. Doesn't mean I don't like it, but I'm always under some kind of tension. So my days are like all about creating this tension, but also releasing it. So I need to walk. I need to think about something else for a moment. I need to take breaks because I'm having so much of this tension in me that it needs to be released like multiple times a day, not just at the end of the day, but also during the day.
And is there something that you created that you're really proud of?
It's very hard to be proud of anything, to be honest.
Or maybe a project that you really enjoyed doing, or collaboration, or
well, maybe like there is a lot of things that are not like out yet, but I'm working on a few typefaces. It will take some time, maybe years, to be even like visible in the outside world. And I feel some kind of pride about it because it's a long process, and as long as it's not out, it doesn't make any money. So it's really like kind of like it feels like a passion project, even though it's obviously not just that. And there is like at some point like it can make some like income and stuff, but like you dedicate a lot of your time, you're like kind of like cherish or hate those projects. And so there is some kind of pride in that, because it's also like the reason why I do typefaces is also it's mostly like because I'm inspired by a certain period of time. So I did some research about this specific kind of letter forms.
Which period is that roughly?
Different really, but like it's not just one thing. But like usually it's coming from like historical sources, and then like I like to put a lot of twist in it. I don't want to let it like all like nice and pretty. I like to also make it a bit more like just
different.
Yeah, different, a bit more like personal also. But
like the same way you chose the cat.
Yeah, exactly. The same way I chose the cat. My dear lovely cat. But for instance, there is one type I'm working on that has some roots of the typical letter you find in Bretagne, but also like in all the Celtic world.
Oh, wow.
So, all the letters you find on like cider bottle or like Irish pub, all those kind of things. And it makes me proud because it's also like my roots. Yeah. So I'm glad that I can kind of like reinvent it with all respect, of course, but try to make it
to be inspired by that.
Yeah, and try to make it like a contemporary version of it, like so it's not just this vernacular, very old-fashioned thing, because like those letters, like usually they are really just used in like cider bottles or crepe packaging. Or
so funny.
So it's like very cliche in a way, and I like to make it to be able to take it somewhere else so that it's not just that anymore.
It's not just the crepes.
It's not just a crepe anymore.
And what type of artworks interest you?
Well, I actually like. It's funny because for a long time I was much more interested in like modern art and contemporary art as well. And like for instance, in design, I'm very very into modern, like mid-century kind of piece. But when I go to museum, I think I like more and more like quite classical, like Renaissance kind of painting. Okay. It makes me very emotional for some reason. Well, some of them are just like super boring, like just a king portrait, and this I don't care. But like, yeah, sometimes I'm so surprised of like those stuff that I used to kind of ignore in the past because I thought, yeah, that's just like old stuff, and I don't care. I like new work. And now I think I'm like more and more interested in that. So usually when I go to, I still try to do both, but when I go to a new city, I'm trying to do usually two kind of museum. One that is like the equivalent of the Louvre in France, and one that is like the Stedelijk in Amsterdam, like so very, very different thing. Yeah. And
what's your favorite museum that you ever visited in the world?
My favorite museum.
Or you can choose like 3 if it's easier.
Well, I really like the Stedelijk in Amsterdam.
Yeah,
it was really like it's probably the museum I visited the most in my life. I go quite often there. I don't like to spend like 4 hours in a museum and see like 3,000 things because I just lose my interest. I feel like I'm just almost like in a grocery store or something at some point. Like I don't really see what I'm seeing. So I like to go like multiple times and see just like a little part of the museum. And I did that a lot with the Stedelijk. I also did that a lot with the Rijksmuseum, which is the Louvre of here.
One,
so yeah, those are my favorites, I think.
That's good then that you live in Amsterdam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that you have a card.
Yeah, and I really love the Whitney in New York.
Okay.
There was a lot of like American artists that I didn't know so much. Some also that I really like.
I don't think I visited this museum in New York.
It's not like it's not as big as like the Met or the MoMA, and it's also like not around this place exactly. Like it's not the same location. It's super super nice, and I actually know I heard about this museum because the visual identity was made by probably like the most famous Dutch designers here, experimental Jetset. Their atelier is very close by here.
Oh,
and like they are really doing like they kind of changed the landscape of design in a way here. And
is that why you live here?
No,
you're like a groupie.
No, I actually
trying to get closer.
It's so weird. Like I was walking very often next to this building, and I was always thinking it's such a cool building. I really love it. Like, oh my god, I would love to live here. And then at some point, I could see through the window some posters, and I recognized like that it was from Experimental Jetset. So I was thinking, is it a fan or are they actually working here? So they don't live there, but it's like their atelier. So yeah, very nice place. But they don't know me. Like I would never dare to just like knock at their door.
Please do.
Maybe one day.
With a poster. I'm your biggest fan.
Yeah. I don't think I'm their biggest fan because I think they have like hardcore fans, and their style is very different from me.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I think it is. Yeah. They are like very well known from like quite like you would describe describe it as quite like simple, a lot of like sans serif, very modernistic approach. And so they did the identity of the Whitney, which is one of the, like, it's like a case study that we all hear at like school, like it's like shown as being such a smart system. So that's how I heard about the Whitney.
And is it important for you to keep traveling? How often do you travel?
It's not like I like to travel, but it's also not something I'm like trying to do so much. I didn't travel a lot until I think I started to travel when I was like 20. Okay. Like the first time I even took a flight, I was 20. Because it was not in the culture of my family at all. Like no one was doing that, so it just didn't happen.
Yeah, and I remember we were talking about how people just were born there and live there.
They stay there, yeah. And they don't mind. Like they also don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, it is a beautiful place.
Yeah. And I feel like they are just like content with what it is. And it's also good that there is people like that, because it's already...
Everybody comes to big cities. It's
yeah. And it's like for your carbon footprint is really bad to travel in general. So if everyone travels, that's just not good news. But I feel very, very lucky when I travel. So that's probably the best part, is that I don't take it as I'm not blasé about it. Like I really know how lucky I am when I do travel. I really value this time. And I'm trying to again like be curious, but I'm trying to be conscious. Like not this summer, but the summer before, I took like a few flights. Like I went to Montreal and San Francisco. And obviously it was a lot. So I thought like, okay, like now I should really be careful. So for instance, I visited my sister not so long ago in Nantes, and usually I would just take a flight. But this time, because I took some flight before, I thought, okay, I'm just going to take like 2 trains. It's going to take me forever, but that's okay. Like just deal with it. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm guessing like maybe next year I will do another big trip, but I'm trying to be conscious about it.
And we need to speak about your flat.
Oh yeah.
Because you have a lot of cool stuff. And how do you choose the furniture?
I'm trying to take my time to buy stuff, because I don't want to like buy everything at once. I don't want it to make too much sense either. Okay. I don't want everything to be completely like going with each other, like fitting perfectly, and like I think it's also nice that there is a bit of incoherence in the choice. And I think it's nice that there is also pieces from like different period of my life. So there is stuff that I have for already quite some years, and there is stuff that I just bought for this flat, kind of. And most importantly, I'm trying as much as possible to buy secondhand. Also because like there is some stuff that are like this table we are
recording on.
It's the table from the 60s, and it's like in perfect condition.
Wow.
So it is really like the quality is like crazy good, you know, like
and do you, because I heard, but I mean, do you know if like now they say that also they create stuff that doesn't last as long?
Yeah.
Is it true? Like, is it something that's you feel in the...
I mean, well, it's also a matter of money, because you can always find some stuff that are very good quality, but then you have like to pay the price for it. And like one of those things, for instance, like the dressing room, like the cupboard, how do you say, like the...
cupboard?
Yeah, well, the thing where you put all your clothes.
Oh yeah, the
dressing room? I don't know. Well,
I will put a beep and with the names. That's what I do always.
Okay, thank you.
Montage Eline, dressing in English is dressing room, not the room in which actors get changed, but the thingy attached to the bedroom to store clothes, if you kind of picture what I mean. Back to the recording.
Like this, for instance, it's so expensive. If you want to have like a big one that kind of like fit with your space, and I wanted to have like a mirror also, so that I don't need to put another mirror somewhere else. So I wanted the door to have a mirror on it, and yeah, I just figured like I cannot put like 6,000 euro in this because well, I just cannot do that. Yeah, there is some piece where I put quite some money, but this was really not was not my priority. So I just bought like a IKEA one. But then like you can really feel it, like even when you like build it, you know that if you have to move out from this apartment, this thing is going to probably stay here. Like it will not move with me. It will not live longer than the time I'm spending in this place, you know. So yeah, I think that's why it's good to have some stuff that you know will live with you, and that you can also really cherish. Like I don't cherish my dressing thing, dressing furniture.
Oh no.
I don't really care. Like it's practical. It does the job, but I don't cherish it. But yeah, there is a lot of other things that I really, really like, and I know I will keep them for a very long time.
And as a human being, what is your strength?
I think I am good at listening. And it's something I really didn't like about myself for a long time, actually.
Oh, wow.
Because I was super shy for a very long time, and like in classrooms, I was listening a lot, and like very like I was always very present. I think I was listening really well, but because I was not participating and talking and like asking questions. That's always what the teacher was saying, like, good girl, but
I remember the same.
Oh yeah, I think it's very often what happens to people that grew up as shy or a little bit reserved. Like you've been told, like, yeah, you should really speak up, like, which is not a bad advice per se,
but it's so difficult. I remember now. I mean, I didn't think about it for ages, but I found it really difficult. Like I would tell myself and force myself, okay, now you have to raise your hand, and it's so hard.
I also remember doing it like almost like I had to do the quota, you know, like like I was thinking like, okay, this week I have to raise my hand like twice, so that they cannot say that I'm not doing the effort. You know, that was really like, again, an attempt to be a good girl, you know. Yeah, so that was probably like the thing I hated the most about myself, because I thought like, yeah, everyone is telling me I should speak up, like it's because it's bad, like the way I am is really bad. But now I think it's probably the thing I like the most in my personality is my ability to actually look at things and listen to people patiently, I think. Yeah.
Which is very needed in this world, I think. People who know how to listen.
Yeah, it's not so often. Like, I think a lot of people would really actually benefit from learning that. I think it's a huge skill, and I think it also plays a role in my job because,
of course.
Because I'm able to listen, I'm able to give the people story like a better output. Like I think the way I take all of their information comes out better because I have this space. I give them the space.
Yeah. And anything you would like to be better at?
Probably being more social. Yeah, because it's still a problem. Like I'm very intimidated by people. It's better definitely, but yeah, I would like to be less intimidated so I can go see those people I really like, the experimental Jetset people, you know. And then I can, if I'm not as impressed, and I could just go and just ask questions, and that would be amazing. But I'm not there yet.
Do you have people that you really admire, like designers?
Yeah, I'm always struggling, like on the spot, to find names.
But also you can share them later, and I can put them in the notes if you don't.
Yeah, we can do that. Stuff. Yeah,
and also like you read quite a lot. Also, if you do you have any book recommendation or?
Oh yeah, this I would also have to look at
like
it
write
because
down.
but I can
so
tell you.
The listener will have to go to the notes of the episode and really look at the list, because I think this is very rich list.
Otherwise, I'm going to say like the first thing that comes to my mind, but it's not necessarily the best.
I see what you mean. And is there anything that scares you? At the moment?
I think death and and the state of the world. Obviously, well, it's a bit of a cliche, but like I feel like right now more than ever in my life, I really feel how scary the place we live in is in a way. So yeah, that is scary for me, and I'm scared also for like the ability of people around me that are creative to be able to maintain their practice. So yeah, maybe on a lighter note, that's maybe it. I'm quite scared for people. Like I see a lot of like very inspiring, talented people that give up because at some point being broke, not being able to live comfortably with your practice is such a huge burden, and a lot of people just give up for that. And honestly, I completely understand.
Yeah.
I will not be the person to say like do what you want and like fairy tale. No, like it's
and
so
don't have
hard.
any money.
Yeah, it's fine.
And no respect from other people.
Exactly. No recognition, no money, whatever. No, it's so important to be able to live in a place of safety.
Yes.
Both physically and mentally. So yeah, that's probably like the thing that scares me a lot. And it's more and more difficult, especially in big cities. And I think you also know that.
London, the same, yeah.
To be able to just sustain yourself. So yeah, I find it super, super scary. And in Amsterdam, there was a lot of change in this regard. I think the last, since COVID, basically, it really accelerated. It was already like a long road of like cutting budget for artists and like not being able to live on your own. So everyone is having like roommates and stuff for a long time. And then people at some point, they give up, and now since COVID, it's just even worse because the rents are crazy. And I'm so like lucky that I can sustain myself. But I know so many people that had to leave or will leave at some point because it really feels like surviving sometimes.
Yeah. Do you know where they leave to? Like, is it like French people back to France or like in smaller towns in the Netherlands? Or
I know some people that went to live in smaller towns in the Netherlands.
Okay.
But sometimes it's the people that actually come from quite far away.
Okay.
For them, it's like they'd rather go to a small city than going back to their country because it's just like too far, and like they just don't want to go back to this life. But otherwise, in general, the people that are from countries that are pretty close, they usually come back to their country. Yeah.
And what's your strongest desire in life?
My strongest desire would be to keep on improving and learning and never, be tired of learning. I think I see a lot of people that are a bit older that kind of like, they don't want to learn anymore. Like you will hear people being like, oh, I don't know that. And they really like, they don't want to ask questions, They're
they
just
resist.
like, they really resist. And I hope I will never be like that. So my stronger desire would be to keep this, this desire to learn.
The curiosity alive.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you die.
Also, it's the death. Yeah, it's literally the death, like it's the beginning of the end. Yeah.
And do you want to be liked or approved, and by who?
I definitely had to let go a little bit of that, because at some point I was posting quite a lot on social media, and it felt nice until it didn't.
Like posting about work stuff that you were doing? Or?
Yeah, work, and also like random stuff, but mostly work. And I had to let go of that because it became like very painful in a way. So, but of course, like, I'm human. I want to be liked, and I would love to be less of a people pleaser as well.
Yeah,
that's also in my to-do list of I don't know when, but and it's getting better. Like everything is in progress,
That's great that you can see that.
Yeah, like I'm learning. At least I think I'm better now in like my personal life to put boundaries. It's still a bit hard in the professional life. I find it a bit harder, but it's getting better also. But that's probably like the biggest work I have to do in terms of people pleasing would be in the professional life.
And if you were an animal?
I want to say a cat because my cat has the best life ever. So
I could see you as a cat, I think.
Yeah.
But as this cat?
Yeah.
Not like any random cat.
No, not a cat in the street. I'm I like my comfort.
I'm a cat in a design flat.
Yeah. It's very sad. If I had to be something else, maybe some, like, I don't know what animal, but probably an animal that has the ability to hide and look from a distance, like being able to observe things,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm picturing you as like a Black Panther or something.
Yeah, without the part where I like eat prey or something, but just like being able to look from afar. Yeah.
And do you have a favorite color?
I don't. I really don't. I think I like association of color, like a nice contrast. Can be like low or high contrast. It's not about like the biggest contrast, but more like what two colors or more can do together, more than one specific color. Yeah.
You often wear black, don't you?
Yeah, that's because it's easy. And it's also a huge cliche of designers. Like if you go to art school, everyone wears black. That's really sad.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But for me, it depends a lot on like how busy I am. Like if I have a lot of mental space, I tend to wear more colors. And that's probably when I feel the most creative. And when I'm like very, very busy and like a lot in my head, I tend to wear more black.
To kind of go back to a simplicity.
Yeah.
What makes you happy? The sound of the cat.
Simply pooping next to me, like if it's nothing. What makes me happy? Very simple stuff. Spending time with people I like and seeing them also happy makes me happy. I like to have huge, like long discussion with people. I really like to have one-on-one conversation. Like I'm not very comfortable in groups in general. I'm more like I like to look at someone in the eye and be able to talk about stuff, and even like super. Like sometimes I think it can be a bit intense because I like to talk about death and life and.
Okay, so it's from my DNA. I have the same thing. In London, people they're like, "Can we stop talking about death?"
Yeah. For a lot of people, it's very like they want to talk about life stuff. They want to just joke,
Yeah.
But I like deep conversation and yeah.
Aileen from the montage, we are distracted here by Pauline's cat, who was jumping everywhere. She's a very special cat and looks more like a mini tiger. Anyway, back to the recording. And do you feel like you know yourself well? The cat does.
I think it's getting better, but I actually think that like you probably think that at every stage of your life you kind of think, oh, this is it, kind of like I know who I am. Like now it's like it's a solid foundation, and you keep on surprising yourself and you keep on discovering how you actually work. And so yeah, like I was listening to a podcast with the other day with women that are more like in their like 40s, end of 40s, and they were really saying like I thought in my 30s that okay, this is it, I'm an adult, I know myself, and that they just like they had a big like revelation that actually it was all like very fragile, and that in their 40s it started to feel a bit more like strong. And I don't know, maybe in 10 years they will again say like, oh, I was actually so wrong. So I think I know myself a lot, but I also very often surprise myself.
What was the last surprise that you had about yourself?
Well, sometimes like people that I know from like my childhood or teenage years, they tell me like, wow, like that's so surprising that you like moved to another country. Like they kind of like didn't see it coming. And I think that's because I was like very again like kind of shy and reserved. So I think they thought like, okay, that's typically the kind of person that stays in her zone, never take risks, don't have a lot of ambition.
And then now you take so many risks and you
I think
I
did take some risk, and like I don't know, like there is a lot of like big and small stuff that made me feel like, okay, like I didn't know I was actually able to do that. Yeah.
Nice. And if you could go back and meet your 15 years old self and say something, would you say something? And what?
That's interesting. Like I very often think about this kind of thing. Like also it's kind of the same idea of like, if you could come back to a situation where it turned out to be a disaster, would you tell yourself, don't go there? And I don't really know, because it would change everything. And I don't want things to be that different. Like I'm quite happy right now, so I don't want things to be completely different. So maybe I would just tell her like, okay, don't trust people that tell you that you are not enough of this, or that they basically project something that is not accurate.
And any project for the coming year that you want to share?
Well, as I said, I'm like working on typefaces. The difference is that before I used to share a lot of in progress work, yeah. And I don't really do it anymore.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you as well. I forgot. Like, don't you feel frustrated that you're working on all the stuff, but it's kind of hidden from other people?
No, I kind of like it actually. Okay. I kind of like that it's like, look, for now it's only mine, and I do share it with some people, so it's not like that no one sees it. But I don't want to share it on social media, because I know I just don't know if it makes sense for me. Yeah. The funny thing is that I do appreciate to see other people work in progress. So it's not like I think like, oh, this is all like bullshit. But I don't know if it makes sense for me now. And for now, I'm like really enjoying working on the stuff. I just cannot tell you when it's going to be visible. Could be in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I don't know. And probably not all together. Like it might be that it's a little bit here, a little bit there. But yeah, some type design stuff.
Nice. Yes. I think the cat really knows that we are doing a recording, because it's just doing so many.
She really wants to be annoying right now.
I think she wants to be recorded as well.
Yeah, she likes the attention, I can tell you.
And anything that you would like to learn to do? Something new?
Something new. Yeah, I don't have like a specific idea yet, but I was always thinking like, oh, why not at some point go back to some like manual thing, like learning either something artistic or not at all, like something just manual.
Okay.
I think I'm also starting to like more and more to learn how things work. Like even things I used to like give up on, like if an object doesn't work, I used to be like, oh, broken. And now I'm trying to like understand how it works and try to repair stuff a little bit better than before. Nice. So yeah, maybe doing some more of those stuff, I don't know.
Nice. Well, I will put also direct the people who are listening to your website and Instagram if you want to share.
Yeah, sure.
And thank you so much.
Thank you,
for
Cousine
taking
Eline.
That time. Cousine Pauline.
So mignonne.
And pretending to say bye-bye even though we are going to stay.
Yeah, we're going to have another coffee now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Other coffee.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please give it a 5 stars on your favorite platform. It really supports me, and then I can interview all the artists of the world until I die. Merci!